Joining us here on the show is three-time NBA champion with the Chicago Bulls, also influential and successful sports agent, B.J. Armstrong, joining us this morning on the program. B.J., good morning.
Good morning. How you guys doing?
Doing well. Thanks so much for joining us. And the David Stern discussions and remembrances, really interesting to me because we know how powerful, how influential, how forward-thinking he was. What sometimes goes unsaid is just what a tough SOB he was, negotiating-wise, and to get a lot of things done. There was a harsh edge to him. What was your relationship with David Stern?
Well, I had a relationship with David that go back to when I first came in the league in 1989 as a player. And without question, he was a very, very tough negotiator. I think I went through a couple of lockouts with him as commissioner at that time, and make no doubt about it. I saw different sides of him from a player perspective as an executive, and you were able to see his forward vision, as you mentioned earlier, but also that how passionate he was about the game. And the one thing I always appreciated about him was, yes, he would negotiate tough. Yes, he had the interest of the league and the owners and at hand. But when it was all over, you could sit down and you can have a conversation with him, as we did many of times, as he had his vision of what this game could be and the potential that it had, not only here domestically, but internationally. And I think that was his big driving force, is to be able to push the game, move it forward, and be able to create excitement around the game of basketball, in particular the NBA game. And you have to give him credit where credit is due, and he will be dearly missed by many of people who had the chance to work with him, but the fans as well, and people all around the world.
I think a lot of people were intimidated by David Stern. Why was that?
Well, when you see someone that has the passion that he had for the game of basketball, I mean, he was just relentless in what he saw. And remember, the game, when he took over the game in I think in the mid 80s, or no, even before that. I mean, take, for example, the game was tape delayed with Magic Johnson and these guys playing in the finals. So he had this incredible energy and love for the game that I think that just came out and poured out. And he was just going places and taking the game places that we didn't think was unimaginable. You talk about being the most popular game in the world. You talk about expansion and being successful, but until you can execute it, it's just talk. And I think that's where you saw a person who put his word where his mouth was. I mean, he put his actions. He went out and he talked about it, but he also did it. And so, like I said, when you saw that and you saw the energy that he put behind his words, I think that could be intimidating to a lot of people.
Interesting. B.J. Armstrong joins us this morning here on the show after the passing of David Stern. One of the things that I think also will always be his legacy is far more reaching than just basketball, and that is the empowerment of the player. He was the first commissioner to identify stars, individuals, and say, we need to build around them, because before that it was always team, team, team. Don't put individuals too high. It'll sink your ship. And he knew, hitch the wagon to Magic, hitch the wagon to Bird, hitch the wagon to Michael, and ride that. You are on a player empowerment side of things as well, obviously, as an agent. How is the NBA different business-wise from that standpoint because of Stern's vision?
Well, it's been interesting to say that and call it player empowerment. But I think the big thing is really having the understanding. And I think the biggest thing for the players is to be able to understand the relationship that you have with the league, the owners, and being able to grow from there. I mean, it's, the special thing that I saw about having stars who understand the business is that everyone can benefit when the star players or the players that people deem as stars, when they have an understanding. I thought Magic and Bird had a phenomenal understanding of the business of sports, because that's what it is. And then I think Michael carried that tradition of understanding the responsibility that they have. So, I don't know if it's so much of just marketing star players. I think it's about really educating the players on the potential and possibility of the business that you have. Take, for instance, when I came in the league, we were playing on network television maybe once a week. Maybe if you played on television 5 or 6 times, that was a lot. And seeing how the game transitioned from network television to cable television now to every game possible is on television. You can see whether it's DirecTV or what have you. So I think as the business continues to grow, the players understand the potential of the growth so that everyone understands the marketing plan and things that they have in place, and they can continue to stay true to the sport itself. Because when your star players are performing, and that's the X factor in the business, and that's what I learned as a player, and I think that's what many of the players in that era learned. Performance is the X factor, which affects the business from top to bottom, and you need your star players to perform when it's time to perform.
B.J. Armstrong is our guest here on the show. He won 3 NBA titles with the Chicago Bulls, and we recently got a clip of the debut coming up in a couple of months in June of ESPN's 10-part documentary series on the 1990 Chicago Bulls. This has gotten a lot of attention. A lot of people just foaming at the mouth for the debut of this coming up in a couple of months. Have you gotten to see any advanced footage of this or gotten any sense of what the documentary is going to entail?
No, I have not. I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to be asked to participate in some of the interviews that was, that will, I don't know if it will be made the final cut or what have you, but for sure I was asked to be in it. And, it's not very often that I'll get a direct call. I see Michael in various places, but I know when he does call, he needs something. So he called one day. I was like, hello? He was like, so who is this? He was like, this is MJ. I was like, oh, what's going on? And then he shared with me that he would ask me if it was, if I would be in the documentary. So I'm interested to see it like everyone else. It's a story that hasn't been told, and not many people know it. And there were some great characters and people that were in it. And I'm sure Michael and his team of people sound like it's going to be an amazing thing. And I'm really looking forward to seeing it.
Well, I am too, and I have to ask, this is interesting. You say it's a story to tell. A lot of people don't know it. Now, I think most people listening right now would be like, oh, I know everything about the 1990s Bulls. I watched all of those games. I watched all the finals. I know Michael and Scotty and Rodman. What's the story that people don't know that they're going to see here?
Well, I think there's so many, characters, from the ownership, Jerry Reinsdorf, the relationship that Michael had, not only on the court. We saw those things, but we didn't see them in the detail that you could see them today. There was no social media. Every game wasn't on television as it is today. And you'll be able to see the relationships that the players had. There were some books that came out, about Jordan rules and who he was, but I think you'll be able to see the story from his perspective. And I think the one thing that people are going to be surprised with, and like I said, I haven't seen it and I don't know, is that you'll see Jordan's vision of how he played the game. And I think that's the one thing to me that I think the world was going to be shocked, because he had a passion for the game. And I've said it so many times, but, hopefully it comes out and you'll see what made him special is, yes, he was a phenomenal player. Yes, he executed when the game played, and he did all those things. But when you see someone attack his craft the way that he attacked his craft every single day, and hopefully you'll get a chance to see his vision of how he prepared himself for those moments. He just didn't show up and play. He prepared himself to go out there and play the way he played every single game. And, yes, you need exceptional talent, but you need people who can prepare and practice and prepare themselves in the way that he did. And he was willing to pay that price every single day. And I hope that that comes across because he was true to his sport. He was true to his craft, and everything that he was able to achieve. He achieved it not only because he had the talent to do it, but because he was willing to pay the price. And I hopefully that will come across in this documentary.
10-part documentary is going to be coming to television airwaves, ABC, ESPN, coming up in June on the 1990s Chicago Bulls dynasty. B.J. Armstrong was part of that 3-time NBA champion in Chicago, now a very influential and successful NBA agent. B.J., it's always really fun and enlightening to catch up. Man, thanks so much for doing it.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
You got it.